So some of the ideas that we wanted to do is take a look at, that what I mentioned before in in the previous session is that the trust, right? The How do we architect an environment that, with the proliferation of tools and information, is to enable trust. Uh, I don't. It's something that I'm struggling with. We're looking at how we could build that within the university and within it, and quite a few different resources. But um, the advent of BYOD and a lot of other tool sets out there, like we had mentioned, ChatGPT, OpenAI, and a lot of these other things, is that we're creating a lot of content and we're creating a lot of platforms, social media, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere else, news, journalism. How do we trust it? And I don't know how. I don't know how we do a verified that this person or whatever's coming out is actually accurate. The advent of deep fake, being able to mimic voice. I mean, I see, you know, there's no evidence of this, but the proliferation of spam attacks and phishing attacks, where they just blast out emails to people. Now you could, in the very near future, you could create a Zoom meeting with the CEO of your company in a deep fake with their voice to tell you to go buy a bunch of gift cards and send it over. And that authority is very curious to me, because all these tools will start allowing the accessibility of other people to leverage that. Um, a lot of other attack vectors are coming into play, and we see through the university and through a lot of other resources. BYOD, bring your own device. Everyone, the work from home, leveraging their current technology stacks at home. We've now taken all these devices and moved them outside of a corporate network and a firewalled network. Um, no longer, you could take a laptop and everybody's working from home or working from a coffee shop and connecting to, you know, possibly unsecured wireless, or, trying to get to the internet wherever you can. How do we, as engineers and technologists, protect all these devices? Um, you know, the attack vectors they're easy. I mean, if you've ever gone to a conference or a security conference or anything, and you go to a security seminar, somebody puts a pineapple out into the audience, pineapple being a Wi-Fi that looks like, sessions Wi-Fi, and you log into it, and now it's collecting all your data. You would think that, being, security professionals, that we wouldn't do that, but I was at, pre-pandemic, I was at a big conference where they did that. They put a pineapple in the middle of the conference. There was 400 people in attendance, and the first three slides were them actively grabbing people's data, which was super interesting, because everybody out in the audience was uh, you know, a secured person that should know better. We all do it. How do you protect all these devices? How do you, create an ecosystem with tool sets that are doing patch management and, allowing computers into your network? Um, Obviously, I want to get a lot of, have a good Q&A. If there's anybody who has questions, um, please submit them in the Q&A. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of these things. I have, questions that I could certainly talk about for a while, but I would love to pinpoint any questions that you have, and kind of amplify your thoughts. Um, I don't see any Q&A yet, but so I'll kind of keep going uh, on other things that are, out there. Uh, one of the stories that I had mentioned earlier about the um, proliferation of attack vectors and the collecting of information. What we see in some of our research kind of areas and that we've discussed is not necessarily people um, using you know, attacking a university and trying to ransomware stuff or trying to steal people's information. And I think this is actually happening in the corporate world as well. One thing that we're actively worried about is computers that are unsecured or research, shares that are not secured, is that they're not stealing the information because the research that's generated without context is useless. I mean, it's pictures or a whole bunch of stuff, and without the parameters in which you're generating that research, again, you could collect it all you want. But what I'm mostly worried about, and what we use some tools for, some machine learning and a little bit of AI, and as we're kind of developing this, is that I'm worried that a bad actor comes in and changes some of that research, that changes some of these bits that may not be distinguishable to anybody who's creating it. But when you go in and analyze it and start putting all this stuff together, there's anomalies. So that is where we're using machine learning to look at what's being produced and what is changing in that stack. Because if you could just change it a little bit, not necessarily hack them or steal their information, but if you could delay their research, you could delay their paper being published, or you could get a head start because you've pushed somebody else out and kind of jump into a peer article or everything else. That is kind of a form that we're seeing some stuff happening, a little bit of corporate espionage. So one question, so are we using ML and AI to grow and expand trust within our org? And we are. We're putting in tools. A lot of our researchers and theorists have, during the pandemic, um, have left and moved on to not moved on, but are not necessarily focused on being in Hyde Park and University of Chicago's campus. They've moved to different areas. And again, they're using their own resources in different labs, and how that information is being generated and sent back to us. We look at that stack and how that information is coming through so we could build that trust. We could leverage the tool sets of some of the compute, people, working in a university is unique because we have people that are really, really tech savvy. They're really smart. I mean, most of the technology that's out in the world primarily came from a university because they're developing this tech because it doesn't exist. I mean, quantum computers and all these things don't exist in a corporate environment. They're developed in a research lab and then sort of moved up. So we take a lot of pride of using the tools that are out there to kind of really drive that forward. If we have any other questions, you can follow me, find me on LinkedIn. My name is Craig Hamill. Feel free to send me, any emails. My information's out there. I'm always up for a great discussion about the future trends and technology and security.